Don't do it, Eva. The thought screamed through my mind even as my feet moved forward, my body betraying every survival instinct I'd honed over the past 3 years. Jamie was still on his knees, stammering apologies, water pooling on the checkered floor around fragments of broken glass. And the man standing over him, the one whose custom coat now bore a dark stain across the shoulder, hadn't moved, hadn't blinked. He was just staring down at Jamie like a predator deciding which bone to break first. The diner had gone silent. Not the comfortable quiet of late-night stragglers nursing coffee. This was the silence of prey animals freezing in tall grass, hoping the hunter's eyes would pass over them. Forks suspended halfway to mouths. Breathing shallow. The jukebox in the corner had finished its song 30 seconds ago, and no one dared move to select another. "I'm sorry, Mr. Romano, I'm so sorry, it was an accident, please, I didn't mean." Jamie's voice cracked. He was 19, working doubles to pay for community college, and his hands were shaking so badly I could see them from 15 feet away. The man he'd called Mr. Romano tilted his head, and somehow that small movement was worse than shouting. "You didn't mean to," he repeated, his voice low and smooth as expensive whiskey. "You didn't mean to disrespect me in front of my men. You didn't mean to ruin a coat worth more than you'll make this entire year." 3 men flanked him, all wearing dark suits that didn't quite hide the bulk of weapons underneath. The one directly to Romano's right, a broad man with silver threading through his black hair, had his hand inside his jacket. "Waiting. Please," Jamie whispered. That's when my feet made the decision my brain was still arguing against. "That's enough." My voice cut through the silence, and I watched every head in the diner turn toward me. But I only cared about one set of eyes. They lifted from Jamie and found me, dark and evaluating, and I felt the weight of that gaze like a physical thing. Up close, Luca Romano was exactly what the whispered stories suggested. Mid-30s, dark hair styled with careless precision, a face that would have been handsome if it weren't so cold. He wore violence like other men wore cologne, something that clung to him, announced him before he entered a room. 3 years ago, I would have crossed the street to avoid him. But 3 years ago I was a different person. Someone who still believed safety was possible if you just followed the rules and kept your head down. "I'm sorry." He said it like a question, but we both knew it wasn't. I stepped between him and Jamie, felt my coworker scramble backward toward the kitchen. "Smart kid." I said, "That's enough. It was an accident." He apologized. "Let it go." Behind Romano, one of his men, a younger guy with a scar through his eyebrow, actually laughed. "Boss, you hearing this?" But Romano raised one hand, silencing him without looking away from me. He took a step closer, and I forced myself not to retreat. Forced myself to remember that fear was just a chemical reaction, that courage wasn't the absence of terror but the decision to act despite it. "You're new," he observed, his eyes traveling over my face like he was cataloging details for later use. "I would have remembered you. First week." My heart hammered against my ribs, but I kept my voice level. "Look, your coat will clean. Kid, sorry. Nobody needs to make this into something it's not. Nobody needs to make this into something it's not," he repeated slowly, and there was something dangerous in the way he savored each word. "Do you have any idea who I am? A man who apparently never learned that accidents happen." The silver-haired man to his right made a strangled sound. In my peripheral vision I saw Harold, the night cook, peer through the kitchen window, his weathered face pale. He'd worked at Rosie's diner for 30 years. He'd seen things. And right now he looked at me like I was signing my own death certificate. Maybe I was. Luca Romano studied me for a long moment, and I couldn't read the expression that flickered across his features. Disbelief. Curiosity. Something else I couldn't name. Then he smiled, and somehow that was most terrifying thing yet. "You've got guts," he said, his voice dropping lower, intimate in a way that made my skin prickle. "Stupid maybe. But guts." He took another step forward. We were less than 2 feet apart now. I could smell his cologne, something dark and expensive. Could see a small scar above his left eyebrow, barely visible. Evidence that someone at some point had gotten close enough to hurt him. The thought should have given me hope. Didn't. Last chance, he said softly, for my ears alone. Step aside. Go back to wiping down tables and pretending you don't see things you shouldn't. Walk away, and we'll forget this happened. Every intelligent cell in my body screamed at me to take the offer. To apologize, to grovel if necessary, to do whatever it took to defuse this situation before it exploded into something none of us could take back. But I'd spent 3 years running. 3 years hiding. 3 years making myself small and invisible and forgettable. And I was so damn tired of being afraid. The 3 words came out steady, sharp, and absolutely fearless, even though my hands were trembling behind my back where he couldn't see them. Sit. Down. The entire restaurant held its breath. I watched his eyes widen just a fraction. Watched something shift behind them, surprise and anger and something else I couldn't identify. His jaw tightened. The muscle in his cheek jumped. Behind him, scarred eyebrow had his gun halfway out of its holster. Silver hair looked like he'd just watched someone slap his mother. The third man, younger and leaner, had gone very still, the kind of stillness that comes right before violence. But Luca Romano just stared at me. Then he did something I didn't expect. He laughed. Not a polite chuckle. A real laugh, genuine and surprised. The sound of a man experiencing something he hadn't felt in years. It transformed his entire face, softened the hard edges, made him look younger. Almost human. Sit back down, he repeated, shaking his head. Sit back down. He looked at his men, still grinning. You hear that, Vincent? The little waitress is giving me orders. Vincent, the silver-haired one, didn't look amused. Boss. No. I like it. Luca turned back to me, and the laughter faded, but something remained in his eyes, a spark of interest that was somehow worse than the anger had been. What's your name, little waitress who doesn't know when to keep quiet? I shouldn't tell him. Shouldn't give him anything he could use to find me, track me, learn about me. But refusing to answer felt like weakness now, like backing down. Eva, he said, tasting my name like wine. Eva what? Just Eva. His smile sharpened. Just Eva. How mysterious. He buttoned his coat, still damp, and gestured to his men. We're leaving. They moved immediately, falling into formation around him. But at the door, Luca Romano paused and looked back at me over his shoulder. I'll be seeing you, Eva. It was a promise and a threat wrapped together, delivered with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. Then they were gone, the door chiming cheerfully behind them, and the diner released its collective breath in a rush of nervous laughter and resumed conversation. Someone fed quarters into the jukebox. Forks clinked against plates again. The world restarted. But I stood frozen in the middle of the floor, staring at the door, my hands finally shaking visibly now that the adrenaline was draining away. Jamie appeared at my elbow, his young face still pale. Eva, oh my God, Eva, are you insane? Do you know what you just did? Do you know who that was? I know, I whispered. Harold emerged from the kitchen, wiping his hands on his apron. His expression was grim. Eva, honey, you need to listen to me very carefully. That was Luca Romano. He runs half this city. The bad half. People who cross him. They don't end well. I know, I said again. Then why? Jamie's voice cracked. Why would you do that? I finally tore my gaze from the door and looked at him. This scared kid who reminded me of my younger brother. The brother I'd failed to protect. The reason I'd spent 3 years running. Because someone had to. Harold shook his head slowly. Girl, I've seen a lot of things in 30 years. And I'm telling you, this isn't over. Men like Romano. They don't forget. They don't forgive. He was right. I knew he was right. But as I grabbed a rag and started cleaning up the spilled water, ignoring the way my hands trembled, I couldn't quite suppress the small, reckless part of me that wondered what would happen next. I'd spent 3 years being invisible. Luca Romano had seen me. And God help me, some broken part of my soul felt alive for the first time since everything had fallen apart. Hey there, my wonderful friend. How's your day going? I'd love to hear your thoughts on this story so far. Drop a comment and tell me where you're watching from. And hold on tight, because Eva's about to discover that catching a mafia boss's attention is only the beginning of her problems. I locked the diner's door at 2 a.m., my reflection ghostly in the glass. Main Street was empty, streetlights casting pools of yellow on wet pavement. It had rained while I was working, that soft autumn drizzle that made everything smell like decay and new beginnings at the same time. My car, a 15-year-old sedan with a temperamental starter, sat in the back lot. I'd parked it under the broken light, the darkest spot, out of habit. 3 years of habits that had kept me alive and hidden. 3 years I might have just destroyed with 3 words. The walk to my car felt longer than usual, every shadow suddenly suspicious. I kept my keys threaded through my fingers, the closest thing to a weapon I had. My apartment was 20 minutes away, a studio above a dry cleaner that smelled perpetually of chemicals and other people's lives. I was so focused on watching the shadows that I almost missed it. A black car, sleek and expensive, idling across the street. I couldn't see through the tinted windows, but I felt the weight of eyes watching. My heart kicked into double time. Keep walking. Don't look. Don't react. Just a coincidence. But I knew better than to believe in coincidences anymore. I made it to my car, hand shaking as I jammed the key into the lock. The old sedan didn't have automatic locks, didn't have working air conditioning, didn't have much beyond 4 wheels and an engine that usually started. Usually. Come on, I whispered, turning the key. The engine coughed, sputtered, died. No. Not now. I tried again. Same result. In my rearview mirror, I watched the black car's door open. Every instinct screamed at me to run. But I'd learned the hard way that running just delayed the inevitable. So I sat, hands gripping the steering wheel, and watched a figure approach in the mirror. Not Luca Romano. One of his men. Vincent, the silver-haired one who'd looked ready to shoot me earlier. He stopped beside my door, tapped on the window with one knuckle. Polite, like we were neighbors passing on the street instead of... Whatever this was. I rolled down the manual window halfway. Can I help you? Car trouble. His voice was surprisingly refined, a slight accent I couldn't place. Italian maybe, or somewhere nearby. I'm fine. You don't look fine. You look like a woman whose car won't start at 2 in the morning in an empty parking lot. He glanced around meaningfully. Dangerous neighborhood. Lots of bad people around. Present company included. His lips twitched. Present company especially. He stepped back, gestured toward the black car. Mr. Romano would like to offer you a ride home. I'll call a cab. At 2 a.m. You'll be waiting an hour. Maybe more. He tilted his head. He's not asking to be nice, Miss Eva. He's asking because he wants to talk to you. And when Mr. Romano wants something, it's easier for everyone involved if people cooperate. There it was. The polite threat wrapped in reasonable words. Could refuse. Could insist on waiting, calling Jamie or Harold, making a scene. But to what end? If Luca Romano wanted to talk to me, he'd find a way. At least in the car, it was on his terms, which meant he probably wasn't planning to kill me. Probably. Fine, I said, grabbing my purse. But I have pepper spray. Vincent's expression remained neutral. Of course you do. The back door of the sedan opened as we approached, and I slid inside before I could talk myself out of it. The interior smelled like leather and that same dark cologne. Luca Romano sat in the far seat, illuminated by the screen of his phone. His face painted in cold blue light. He didn't look up immediately. Just finished whatever message he was typing, sent it, then pocketed the phone and turned his full attention to me. Your car's a piece of junk, he observed. It's paid for. Barely runs. Runs enough. He smiled faintly. You're very defensive about a car that just stranded you in a dark parking lot. You're very interested in a waitress you met 3 hours ago. 4 hours. He checked his watch, something slim and probably worth more than my annual rent. It's been 4 hours since you told me to sit down in front of my men and half the neighborhood. Vincent had gotten into the driver's seat. The engine purred to life, smooth and powerful. Nothing like my dying sedan. Where are we going? He asked. I'm taking you home, Luca said. Unless you'd rather walk. You don't know where I live. He pulled out his phone again, tapped the screen and showed it to me. My address glowed on the display. My real address, the studio above the dry cleaner. Not the fake one I'd given when I filled out the employment paperwork at the diner. It flooded my veins. How? Eva Brennan, he continued, reading from his phone like he was ordering from a menu. 26 years old. Originally from Portland. Moved here 3 months ago from Seattle. Before that, Denver. Before that, Austin. You move around a lot, don't you, Eva? My throat had gone dry. You had me investigated. In 4 hours. I have resources. He pocketed the phone again. Want to know what's interesting? Everything I just told you is true. Verifiable. But it's also shallow. Surface details that don't add up to anything meaningful. It's like you didn't exist before 3 years ago. Everyone exists. Not on paper they don't. Not like this. He leaned forward slightly, and in the dim interior, his eyes were black. So here's my question, just Eva. What are you running from? What makes you think I'm running? Because I've spent my entire life around people who are hiding something. Can smell it. And you? You reek of secrets. The car glided through empty streets, Vincent navigating without needing directions. Of course he knew where I lived. They probably knew everything except the one thing that mattered. The thing I'd buried so deep I sometimes managed to forget it myself. You're scaring me, I said quietly. Good. You should be scared. But his voice had softened, lost some of its edge. You stood up to me tonight. No one does that. My own men don't question me. Business associates who've known me for 20 years don't talk back. But you, a waitress in a diner, looked me in the eye and gave me orders. I was protecting my friend. You were being reckless. He sat back studying me. Brave and reckless. That combination gets people killed in my world. I'm not in your world. You are now. It wasn't a threat. Just a statement of fact, delivered with absolute certainty. The moment you stepped between me and that boy, you entered my world. And the thing about my world, Eva. Once you're in, you don't just walk back out. The car had stopped. I looked out the window and recognized my building, the dark and dry cleaner on the ground floor, my single window on the second floor where I'd left a lamp burning. Vincent got out, opened my door. Luca Romano didn't move. I'll see you tomorrow night, he said. I'm not working tomorrow night. Then I guess you'll have the night off to have dinner with me. I don't. 8 o'clock. Wear something nice. He pulled out his phone again, already moving on to his next message, his next order, his next piece of business. Vincent will pick you up. And if I say no? He looked up, and for just a moment, I saw something flicker in his expression. Not anger. Something almost like curiosity, challenge, interest. Then I'll ask again the next night. And the night after that. And eventually, Eva, your curiosity will outweigh your fear. And you'll say yes just to understand what this is. He tilted his head. Or we can skip all that and you can just say yes now. This is insane. Probably. He smiled, and it was different from the cold smile in the diner. Warmer. More genuine. But you're still going to say yes. He was right. God help me, he was right. Some reckless, self-destructive part of me that had gotten me into trouble my entire life wanted to know what would happen next. Wanted to pull at this thread and see what unraveled. 3 years of running. 3 years of being invisible. And here was a man who saw me. Dangerous man. Criminal. Someone I should avoid at all costs. 8 o'clock, I heard myself say. His smile widened. 8 o'clock. I got out of the car, Vincent closing the door behind me with a soft click. The sedan pulled away, taillights disappearing around the corner, and I stood on the wet sidewalk staring after it. What had I just agreed to? What had I just started? And why did the scared, smart part of me feel so completely drowned out by the part that felt, for the first time in 3 years, like maybe I was finally waking up? I owned exactly one dress that qualified as something nice. Black, simple, with sleeves that covered the scar on my left shoulder. The scar I never talked about. The one that ached when it rained. A permanent reminder of the night that had split my life into before and after. I'd tried on the dress 3 times, taken it off twice, and seriously considered calling the whole thing off approximately 17 times. But at 7:55 p.m., I was standing outside my building when the black sedan pulled up. Vincent emerged, opened the back door without a word. No Luca inside this time. Just expensive leather seats and that lingering cologne. "He's meeting you there," Vincent said, reading my expression. "Where's there?" "You'll see." The drive took 15 minutes, winding through parts of the city I'd deliberately avoided. The east side, where Romano money had rebuilt old warehouses into expensive restaurants and exclusive clubs. Where people who asked too many questions tended to disappear. We stopped in front of a restaurant called Marcello's. No sign, just a number on a black door. The kind of place you only knew about if you were supposed to know about it. Vincent opened my door. "2nd floor. Private dining room. He's waiting." My heels clicked on marble as I entered. A hostess who looked like she belonged on a runway smiled without warmth and gestured to a staircase. No words. Just the understanding that I was expected. The 2nd floor was a single room, intimate and dimly lit. Floor to ceiling. No, wait. Large windows overlooking the city. Candles on a table set for 2. And Luca Romano standing by those windows, drink in hand, looking every bit the dangerous man he was. He traded the coat for a dark suit, no tie, collar open. Casual elegance that probably cost more than my car. He turned when I entered, and something shifted in his expression. "You came," he said, like he'd genuinely wondered if I would. "You didn't give me much choice." "There's always a choice, Eva." He gestured to the table. "You chose to be here." He wasn't wrong. Could have run. Could have quit the diner, left town in the middle of the night like I'd done 3 times before. But I'd stayed. I'd put on this dress. I'd gotten in the car. Because some self-destructive part of me needed to know what happened next. We sat. A waiter appeared immediately, poured wine I didn't recognize, placed plates of food I hadn't ordered. Everything orchestrated, controlled. Luca's world, where everything bent to his will. "You look nervous," he observed. "You investigated me. Showed up at my job. Basically ordered me to have dinner with you. Why wouldn't I be nervous?" "Fair point." He sipped his wine, watching me over the rim. "So let's even the playing field. What do you want to know about me? Are you seriously asking me to interview you? Why not? You've heard the stories, I'm sure. Everyone has. But I'm curious what you actually want to know versus what you think you should ask." I studied him across the candlelight. He seemed genuinely interested, like this was a real date instead of whatever psychological game we were actually playing. "Fine," I said. "Why did you come back to the diner tonight? Why investigate me? You could have just moved on. Because you weren't afraid of me." He set down his glass. "Everyone's afraid of me, Eva. My own men, business associates, enemies, certainly. Fear is useful. Keeps people in line, keeps them predictable. But you..." He leaned forward slightly. "You were terrified. Could see it. But you stepped forward anyway. That's not stupidity. That's something else." "What?" "I'm still figuring that out." The food was incredible, but I barely tasted it. Too focused on the man across from me. The way he asked questions that seemed casual but weren't. Where did I grow up? What brought me here? Did I have family? I gave him the surface answers. The same ones he'd already found. Portland. Looking for a fresh start. An older brother I didn't talk to anymore. All true. All completely inadequate to explain the real story. Your turn, I said, deflecting. Why this life? You don't seem like. Like what? A thug. He smiled without humor. My father ran the Romano family before me. And his father before him. This isn't a life you choose, Eva. It's a life you inherit. By the time you're old enough to understand what it means, you're already too deep to get out. There was something in his voice. Not quite regret but close. A weariness that made him seem older than his years. You ever try to get out? His jaw tightened. Once. When I was 22. Had a plan. College applications, money saved, a whole future mapped out. He paused. My father found out. Made it very clear that the only way out of this family is in a casket. That's horrible. That's reality. He refilled his wine. 3 months later he had a heart attack. Died in his office, surrounded by ledgers and blood money. And suddenly I was in charge. 22 years old, responsible for 100 men and their families, for territory, for debts and deals and violence I'd spent my whole life trying to avoid. You could have said no. Could I? He looked at me, really looked at me, and I saw something raw beneath the polished exterior. You know what happens to power vacuums in this world? Or blood. Innocent people caught in crossfire. I took over because the alternative was watching everything burn. I understood that. God help me. I understood choosing the lesser evil because the alternative was unthinkable. That's why you do it, I said quietly. The control. The fear. You keep everything locked down tight because if you don't. Chaos. He nodded. Exactly. We sat in silence for a moment, and something shifted between us. A recognition. Two people who'd been forced into roles they never wanted, trying to survive the best way they knew how. Eva. His voice was softer now. What are you running from? My heart stuttered. What makes you? I told you. I know the signs. He reached across the table and I should have pulled back, should have maintained distance, but I didn't. His fingers brushed mine. Whatever it is, whatever you're afraid of, I can protect you. Why would you do that? Because someone should have protected you before. Someone should have been there and they weren't, and now you're here alone, working in a diner at 2 a.m. and driving a car that barely runs. His hand closed around mine. Warm. Solid. Let me help. I wanted to. God, I wanted to believe that someone could actually keep me safe, that I could stop running, stop hiding, stop looking over my shoulder every moment of every day. But I'd learned the hard way that protection was an illusion. That the moment you trusted someone, that's when everything fell apart. I pulled my hand back gently. I should go. Eva. Thank you for dinner. This was nice. But I can't. I'm not. I stood grabbing my purse. I'm sorry. He stood too but didn't try to stop me. Just watched with those dark eyes that saw too much. Vincent will drive you home. I can get a cab. Vincent will drive you home, he repeated, firmer this time. Not a request. I nodded and headed for the door, my heart pounding, everything in me screaming that I was making a mistake. That I should stay, should tell him everything, should take the protection he was offering. But I'd taken that offer before. 3 years ago. And it had gotten someone killed. I was halfway down the stairs when I heard footsteps behind me. Yes. Urgent. I spun expecting Luca, but it was a woman. Mid-20s, beautiful in an effortless way. Dark hair and eyes that reminded me of someone. She stopped short when she saw me, surprise flickering across her face. Oh, she said. Sorry. I thought. Who are you? No one. I was just leaving. From upstairs. From Luca's private room. Her eyes narrowed. Did my brother actually have a date? Brother. This was Luca's sister. It wasn't. I mean, yes, but. I fumbled for words. She laughed, a sound of genuine delight. Oh my God. He actually did. Luca Romano, the man who hasn't shown interest in a woman in 5 years, had a dinner date. She extended her hand. I'm Sophia. And you are? Eva. Well, Eva, you must be something special. My brother doesn't do dinners. He doesn't do dates. He barely does human interaction outside of business. She glanced up the stairs. What did you do to catch his attention? I told him to sit down. Sophia's eyebrows shot up. You. I'm sorry, what? At the diner. He was yelling at someone. I told him to sit back down. She stared at me for a long moment, then burst into laughter again, this time loud enough to echo in the stairwell. Oh, I like you. I really, really like you. She looped her arm through mine like we were old friends. Come on. We're getting a drink, and you're telling me this whole story. I really should. Please. You just had dinner with Luca. The least you deserve is a drink and some context. She was already guiding me toward a side door. Besides, if you're going to be around my brother, you need to understand what you're getting into. Consider this a public service. I should have said no. Should have pulled away, gotten in Vincent's car, gone home to my tiny apartment and my quiet, hidden life. But Sophia had a warmth that reminded me of my own life before. When I had friends. When I trusted people. When I was just Eva, not running Eva or hiding Eva. One drink, I said. Perfect. She pushed open the door to a small bar, intimate and clearly connected to the restaurant. Trust me, Eva. You and I are going to be great friends. I can tell. And as we settled into a corner booth and she ordered drinks with the casual authority of someone used to being obeyed, I couldn't shake the feeling that I'd just stepped even deeper into Luca Romano's world. The question was whether I'd ever find my way back out. Or if I even wanted to. Sophia ordered whiskey. Good whiskey, the kind that burned warm instead of harsh. She slid one glass across to me and raised her own. To women who tell my brother to sit down, she said, grinning. I clinked glasses with her, took a sip, felt the burn settle in my chest. The bar was nearly empty. Just a bartender polishing glasses at the far end and soft jazz playing from hidden speakers. So how bad is he going to punish me for stealing his date? Sophia asked. I wasn't really. We're not. I struggled for the right words. I don't know what this is. That makes two of you. She leaned back, studying me with eyes that were disconcertingly similar to her brother's. Evaluating. Missing nothing. Luca doesn't do uncertain. He doesn't do complicated. Everything in his life is controlled, planned, calculated. Except you, apparently. He barely knows me. That's what scares him. She took another sip. Can I tell you something? Brother-sister confidentiality. I nodded, even though we'd known each other all of 10 minutes. 5 years ago, Luca was engaged. Her name was Isabella. Beautiful, smart, from a good family. One of our own, you know. Someone who understood the life. Sophia's expression darkened. 3 weeks before the wedding, she was killed. Car bomb meant for Luca. Wrong car, wrong place, wrong time. My stomach dropped. Oh God. He blamed himself. Still does. Hasn't looked at another woman since. Hasn't even pretended to be interested. She met my eyes. Until you. I'm not. I didn't ask for this. Neither did he. That's what makes it interesting. She signaled the bartender for another round. My brother's been dead inside for 5 years, Eva. Walking, talking, running the family business, but dead where it counts. Then you show up and tell him to sit down, and for the first time since Isabella, I see something in his eyes. Something alive. The weight of that settled over me, heavy and uncomfortable. I didn't want to be responsible for bringing someone back to life. I could barely keep myself alive. I'm not staying, I said quietly. I never stay anywhere long. Why not? The question was simple. The answer wasn't. Before I could dodge it, the door to the bar burst open. Vincent strode in. His usually composed face tight with urgency. Miss Romano. We need to go. Now. Sophia was on her feet instantly. All warmth gone, replaced by something harder. What happened? Your brother. There's been an incident. My heart stopped. Is he hurt? Vincent's eyes flicked to me. surprise registering for just a moment before his professional mask returned. He's alive. That's all I can say. Miss Romano, the car's outside. I'm coming too, I said, already moving. Eva, you don't have to. Sophia started. I'm coming. Something passed between us, an understanding. Then she nodded, and we were moving out the door into the waiting car. A different one this time, larger, with 2 additional men in the front seat, armed. What happened? Sophia demanded as the car lurched into motion. Ambush at the warehouse on 5th. 3 shooters. Mr. Romano's security handled it, but Vincent hesitated. He took a hit. Left side. He's refusing to go to the hospital. Of course he is, Sophia muttered. Stubborn idiot. The car wove through traffic at dangerous speeds, and I pressed my hand against the door to steady myself. This was insane. I should have stayed away. Should have never gotten in Luca's car last night, never agreed to dinner, never let myself get pulled into this world where people got shot at warehouses. But when I closed my eyes, all I could see was Luca's face across the candlelight, the raw honesty when he talked about his father, about being trapped in a life he never wanted, about trying to prevent chaos. We pulled up to a building that looked abandoned from the outside, but the 3 black cars parked outside told a different story. Vincent was out first, scanning the area, then opening our door. Clear. But stay close. Inside, the warehouse was surprisingly clean, converted into what looked like an office space. Men in suits moved with purpose, several talking urgently into phones. One had blood on his sleeve. Sophia pushed through them like a force of nature, heading for a room in the back. I followed, my heels clicking on concrete, feeling desperately out of place. Luca sat in a chair, shirt off, while an older man with a medical bag worked on his side. Blood stained his skin, his ruined shirt on the floor. When he saw Sophia, his jaw tightened. It's nothing, he said. Sophia, I told Vincent. Shut up. She crossed to him, examining the wound herself. Through and through. Yes, the doctor said. Missed anything vital. He got lucky. Lucky. Sophia's voice was sharp with anger and fear. You got shot, Luca. That's not lucky. Could have been worse. Then his eyes found me, standing in the doorway, still in my black dress, completely out of my depth. His entire expression shifted. Eva, what are you? Sophia, why is she here? She insisted. Sophia stepped back, letting the doctor continue his work. Apparently, she cares whether you live or die. Novel concept for you, I know. I should have said something. Should have explained or apologized or left. But I couldn't stop staring at the wound, at the blood, at how close the bullet had come to something vital. 3 inches to the right, and he'd be dead. Just like Frederick. Just like my brother, bleeding out on a warehouse floor 3 years ago while I'd pressed my hands to the wound and begged him to stay with me. The room tilted. My breath came short and fast. Not here. Not now. But the panic attack didn't care about timing. Eva. Luca was standing, ignoring the doctor's protests, crossing to me. Eva, look at me. Breathe. His hands found my shoulders, warm and solid. Real. Not Frederick. Not my brother dying while I watched helplessly. I'm sorry, I gasped. I'm fine, I just. You're not fine. He guided me to a chair, knelt in front of me despite his injury, one hand on my knee. Look at me. Match my breathing. In, out. In, out. I focused on his face, on his steady breathing, on the warmth of his hand. Slowly, the panic receded, leaving me shaky and embarrassed. I'm sorry, I whispered again. Stop apologizing. His thumb traced small circles on my knee, grounding. You've seen someone shot before. It wasn't a question. I nodded, not trusting my voice. Someone you cared about. Another nod. His expression softened into something that looked like understanding, like recognition. Eva. Mr. Romano. A new voice, hard and urgent. A man I hadn't noticed before stepped forward. Tall, lean, with cold eyes and a gun visible at his hip. "We have a problem." Luca's hand tightened on my knee for just a moment before he released me and stood. All business now, the moment of vulnerability locked away. "Talk." "The shooters." "We grabbed one before he could run." The man glanced at me, hesitated. "Whatever you have to say, say it," Luca ordered. "He's from the Castellano family. Out of Seattle." The room went cold. Or maybe that was just me, all the blood draining from my face. "Cattle. Castellano." "Well, no. Luca was watching me, and I knew my expression had given something away. "What does Seattle have to do with anything?" he asked slowly, deliberately. The other man looked confused by the question. "Nothing, boss. Just means the Castellanos are expanding territory. Getting bold." But Luca wasn't looking at him. He was looking at me. "Eva," he said quietly, dangerously. "Do you know something about the Castellano family?" I couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. After 3 years of running, of hiding, of staying invisible, they'd found me. Not directly, but close enough. Too close. "Eva. Sharper now. Answer me. I need to leave." I stood, legs shaking. "I need to go. Right now." "You're not going anywhere until you tell me what's happening." "Luca, please." "Did they send you?" His voice had gone cold, all the warmth from earlier completely gone. "Is that what this is? Some kind of setup?" "What?" "No." The accusation stung more than it should have. "I didn't know they were here." "I didn't know. But you know them." He stepped closer, and suddenly he was the dangerous man from the diner again, all hard edges and barely contained violence. "You know the Castellanos. That's why you ran from Seattle." "It's complicated." "Uncomplicated." Sophia had moved to the door, blocking my exit. The doctor had quietly packed up his supplies and left. The room felt smaller, the walls closing in. I was trapped, cornered. And the man I'd started to trust was looking at me like I might be the enemy. 3 years ago, I heard myself say, the words dragged out against my will. My brother Frederick got involved with the Castellano family. He was young, stupid, thought he could make quick money running jobs for them. I tried to stop him. Tried to get him out. But he was in too deep. Luca's expression hadn't changed, but he was listening. He found out something. I don't know what, he wouldn't tell me. But whatever it was, it scared him. He said he was going to the police, going to testify, get into witness protection. My voice cracked. They found out. Sent people to make sure he never talked. "The shooting you witnessed," Luca said. "Your brother." I nodded, tears burning hot in my eyes. "I was there. Tried to save him. Couldn't." I touched my left shoulder unconsciously, where the scar was hidden beneath my dress. "Got shot too. Lived." "He didn't. And you've been running ever since." "They think I know what Frederick knew." "You don't." "I swear I don't. But they don't believe me." I looked up at him, desperate for him to understand. "I've been hiding for 3 years, Luca. Different cities, different names, staying invisible. And I was doing fine until you met me." Understanding dawned in his eyes. "Until you stopped being invisible. I should have stayed away. Should have kept my head down. But I couldn't finish that sentence. Couldn't admit that some broken part of me had wanted to be seen again." The room was silent except for the muffled sounds of activity outside the door. Luca stared at me, and I couldn't read his expression. Finally he spoke. "Castellanos are here. In my city. They took a shot at me tonight. I didn't know they were here. I swear. I believe you." He said it simply, and the relief nearly buckled my knees. "But they're here now. Which means you're not safe. Not anymore. I'll leave. Tonight. I'll disappear again." "No." The word was sharp, final. "You're done running. Luca, you don't understand." "I understand perfectly." He crossed to me, cupped my face in both hands, forced me to meet his eyes. You've been running for 3 years from people who want you dead. Well, guess what? Now they're in my city, on my territory, and they just tried to kill me. Which means this isn't just your fight anymore. I can't ask you to. You're not asking. I'm telling. His thumbs brushed away tears I hadn't realized were falling. You walked into my life 2 days ago and turned everything upside down. You made me feel something I haven't felt in 5 years. You think I'm just going to let you disappear? They'll kill you. They can try. He smiled, sharp and dangerous. But I'm very hard to kill. And I protect what's mine. I'm not yours. Not yet. His voice dropped lower, intimate despite the audience of his sister and his men just outside. But you will be. Because I'm about to make you an offer, Eva Brennan. And you're going to say yes. What offer? Protection. Real protection, not the kind that fails when you need it most. You stop running. You stay here. Let me handle the Castellanos. Let me end this for you. Why would you do that? Because someone should have protected you 3 years ago. Someone should have saved your brother. And I can't fix the past, but I can damn sure fix the present. His forehead touched mine, and the gesture was so unexpectedly tender it stole my breath. Stay, Eva. Let me keep you safe. I wanted to. God, I wanted to more than anything. To stop running. To trust someone. To believe that maybe, finally, I could have something resembling a normal life. But I'd trusted before. And Frederick had died for it. If I stay, I whispered, and something happens to you or Sophia or anyone because of me, I couldn't survive that. I barely survived losing Frederick. Then it's a good thing I don't plan on dying. He pulled back just enough to look at me. Say yes, Eva. Take the leap. Trust me. Behind him, Sophia spoke up. For what it's worth, my brother's insufferably arrogant, but he's also very good at what he does. If he says he'll protect you, he will. Even if it means war with the Castellanos. Luca's smile turned cold. Especially if it means war with the Castellanos. They came into my territory. Shot at me. That demands a response regardless of you. You're just giving me a better reason. This was insane. Completely, utterly insane. Trusting a mafia boss I'd known for 2 days to protect me from the family that had been hunting me for 3 years. But what other choice did I have? Keep running. Eventually they'd catch me. They'd already found me once. And beneath the fear, beneath the logic screaming that this was a terrible idea, was something else. Something that had woken up the moment Luca Romano had looked at me in that diner and seen me. Oh, terrifying, fragile, beautiful hope. Okay, I breathed. Okay, I'll stay. Something fierce and triumphant flashed in his eyes. Say it again. I'll stay. He kissed me then, sudden and claiming, one hand tangling in my hair, the other at the small of my back. It was a kiss that tasted like whiskey and blood and promises, a kiss that felt like sealing a deal I didn't fully understand, a kiss that felt like the point of no return. When he pulled back, we were both breathing hard. Vincent, he called without looking away from me. Take Eva to the safe house on Riverside. Post guards. No one gets in or out without my explicit approval. Yes, boss. Sophia, you too. Until we know the extent of the Castellano threat, I want you both protected. Sophia groaned. Luca, I don't need. Not negotiable. Now he looked at her, and his expression was hard. They came after me. They might come after you to get to me. Safe house. Now. She rolled her eyes but nodded. Fine. But Eva and I are raiding your wine collection. Deal. He turned back to me, softer again. I need to handle some things. Clean up this mess. By morning, the Castellanos will know that coming into my city was a mistake. And you. He traced my cheekbone with his thumb. You get some rest. When this is over, we're finishing that dinner conversation. Luca. I didn't know what I wanted to say. Thank you. Sorry. I'm terrified. I'm falling for you and it's the worst possible timing. I know. He kissed my forehead, gentle this time. Oh. I'll see you soon. Vincent was already at the door. Sophia linked her arm through mine again, that same easy warmth from before, like we hadn't just witnessed her brother get shot and my entire past explode into the present. As we walked out, I heard Luca's voice behind us, cold and commanding. Get me everything we have on the Castellano family. Every business, every property, every associate. And find out who gave the order for tonight. I want a name by dawn. This was real. This was happening. I just allied myself with a mafia boss to fight the family that had killed my brother. What had I done? But as Sophia squeezed my arm reassuringly and led me to the waiting car, as we drove through the night toward a safe house I'd never seen, I couldn't shake the memory of Luca's hands on my face. His voice promising protection. His kiss sealing the deal. For 3 years I'd been running alone. Maybe it was time to let someone run with me. Or better yet, to finally stop running and fight. Act 4. Rising pressure and deception. The safe house was nothing like I'd expected. Not some grim bunker, but a spacious home in a quiet neighborhood, the kind of place where families lived and kids rode bikes on the sidewalk. Invisible by being completely ordinary. Except for the 2 armed guards stationed at the front and back exits. Sophia made herself at home immediately, raiding the kitchen and emerging with wine and cheese. If we're going to be trapped here, we might as well be comfortable. Trapped is a strong word, I said, but we both knew it was accurate. She poured generous glasses. Oh, you and my brother. There is no me and your brother. Eva, I watched him kiss you like you were oxygen and he'd been drowning for 5 years. She settled onto the couch, tucking her feet under her. There's definitely something. I joined her, the wine warm and grounding. It's complicated. Everything with Luca is complicated. She studied me over her glass. But I meant what I said earlier. I haven't seen him look at anyone like that since Isabella. And honestly, even with her, it wasn't quite. Wasn't quite what? This intense. This fast. She shook her head. Isabella was perfect on paper. Right family, right background, understood the life. They grew up together. Made sense. But you're chaos wrapped in a black dress. You're everything he shouldn't want. And maybe that's exactly why he does. I thought about Luca's hands on my face. His voice promising protection. The way he'd looked at me like I was something precious and terrifying at the same time. I don't know how to do this, I admitted. I've spent 3 years keeping people at a distance. Not getting attached. Not letting anyone close enough to get hurt. Too late for that. Sophia's smile was gentle. You're already attached. So is he. Now you just have to decide if you're brave enough to see where it goes. Before I could respond, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. My stomach tightened, but when I opened it, the message was brief. It's Luca. New phone untraceable. How are you holding up? I typed back. Sophia's getting me drunk. I think she's trying to extract embarrassing secrets. His response was immediate. She absolutely is. Don't tell her about the panic attack. I'll never hear the end of it. Despite everything, I smiled. Too late. She saw everything. There goes my reputation. Sophia was watching me with undisguised amusement. You're smiling at your phone like a teenager. This is adorable and also deeply disturbing. Another message. Vincent says the house is secure. Get some rest. I'll see you in the morning. Be careful. Always am. I didn't believe that for a second, but I sent back a simple good night. Sophia topped off my wine. He's going after them tonight, isn't he? The Castellanos. I think so. Good. Her voice had gone hard. They shot my brother. In my family, that demands blood. The casual way she said it should have disturbed me. Instead, I just felt tired. Does it ever stop? The violence, the revenge, the cycle. Not in this life. She met my eyes. That's why what Luca's offering you is so significant. He's not just protecting you, Eva. He's putting you under his family's protection. Which means anyone who comes after you comes after all of us. That's not something he does lightly. The weight of that settled over me. I never wanted to drag anyone else into my mess. Too bad. You're stuck with us now. She raised her glass. To family. The kind you choose and the kind you're born into and the kind that chooses you whether you like it or not. We drank to that, and for a moment, in this strange house with this woman I'd known less than a day, I felt something I hadn't felt in 3 years. It was a dangerous feeling. The last time I'd felt safe, Frederick had died. I woke to sunlight streaming through unfamiliar windows and the smell of coffee. For a disoriented moment, I couldn't remember where I was. Then it all came flooding back. A shooting. Castellanos. Luca. I found Sophia in the kitchen, looking annoyingly put together for someone who'd matched me glass for glass last night. Morning, sunshine. Coffee. Please. He poured me a cup. Luca called. He's coming by around 10. Says he has news. My heart jumped. Good news or bad news? With my brother, it's usually both. I showered and changed into clothes someone had thoughtfully left in my room. Designer labels, perfect fit. More evidence of Luca's resources and reach. He'd known my size, my style, had anticipated my needs before I'd known I'd be here. It should have felt invasive. Instead, it felt like being cared for. When Luca arrived at exactly 10, he looked exhausted but triumphant. His shirt was fresh but his eyes were shadowed like he hadn't slept. The bandage on his side was visible through the thin fabric. You should be resting, I said instead of hello. I'll rest when this is finished. He crossed to me, cupped my face in that now familiar gesture, studied me like he was confirming I was still whole. You okay? Better than you, apparently. He smiled, tired but genuine. I have news. The Castellanos have 3 operations in the city. Shipping warehouse, nightclub, and a front company doing imports. As of 4 a.m., they don't have those anymore. You took them all out. In one night. I'm efficient when I'm motivated. He guided me to the couch, sat close enough that our legs touched. Sophia had discreetly disappeared. Their leadership is scrambling. Trying to figure out how I moved so fast, hit so hard. By tomorrow they'll get the message. What message? Leave my city. And leave you alone. His hand found mine, threaded our fingers together. This is almost over, Eva. A few more days, maybe a week, and the Castellanos will retreat back to Seattle with their tails between their legs. I wanted to believe him. Wanted to believe it could actually be that simple. You're sure? I'm sure. He lifted my hand, pressed a kiss to my knuckles. You're safe. I promised I'd protect you, and I keep my promises. The relief was overwhelming. After 3 years of running, of looking over my shoulder, of never staying anywhere long enough to call it home. It could actually be over. Thank you, I whispered. Don't thank me yet. His expression turned serious. Eva, when this is finished, when the Castellanos are gone, I want you to stay. Not just until the threat passes. Really stay. Luca. I know it's fast. I know it's crazy. But I also know that I haven't felt this alive in 5 years, and I'm not ready to let that go. He shifted closer, his free hand coming up to cup my cheek. I'm not ready to let you go. I'm not. I don't know how to be with someone. Especially someone like you. Someone like me. Dangerous. Powerful. Someone whose enemies shoot at him in warehouses. Fair point. His thumb traced my cheekbone. But you're pretty dangerous yourself. You brought a dead man back to life. That's terrifying in its own way. That's not. He kissed me, soft and slow, nothing like the claiming kiss from last night. This was a question, an invitation, a promise wrapped in tenderness. I kissed him back, let myself sink into it, let myself imagine for just a moment that this could actually work. That I could have this. Have him. When we broke apart, he rested his forehead against mine. Eva. Please. Okay, I breathed. When this is over, I'll stay. The smile that crossed his face was pure joy, unguarded and beautiful. Yeah. He kissed me again, deeper this time, and I felt something shift in my chest. Like a door I'd locked 3 years ago was finally, tentatively, opening. Maybe this could actually work. Maybe I could actually have a life again. A real life, not just survival. The thought was intoxicating. It was also, I'd learn within the hour, a lie. Luca left shortly after. More business to handle, more operations to dismantle. He kissed me goodbye at the door like we were a real couple, like this was normal, like people weren't hunting me and he hadn't been shot less than 24 hours ago. I floated back into the living room, still tasting him on my lips. Sophia grinned. Okay, I watched through the kitchen window. You two are disgustingly cute. Shut up. Never. She sobered slightly. But seriously, Eva. I'm glad. Luca deserves this. Deserves you. I'm not sure I deserve him. That's what makes you perfect for him. You both think you don't deserve happiness, so you'll fight like hell to keep it when you find it. She checked her phone, frowned. Weird. What? Message from Marco. He's one of Luca's lieutenants. Says he has information about your brother. My blood went cold. What kind of information? Doesn't say. Just that he wants to meet with you. Alone. She looked up. That's weird, right? Why wouldn't he just tell Luca? Everything in me screamed warning. Don't respond. Eva, if he knows something about Frederick, then he can tell Luca. I grabbed her phone. Promise me you won't set up a meeting. She studied my face, saw whatever fear was written there, and nodded slowly. Okay. I'll tell him to go through Luca. She typed a response, but before she could send it, the lights went out. Complete darkness. The kind that only comes when power is cut deliberately. Sophia, I whispered. Stay close. Her voice was steady, but I heard the fear underneath. The guards will. Gunshots. Say. Sharp cracks followed by heavy silence. God no. Upstairs, Sophia hissed, grabbing my arm. There's a panic room. Move. We ran, stumbling in the darkness, my shoulder hitting the wall as we found the stairs. More gunshots, closer now. The sound of the front door splintering. We made it to the second floor. Sophia dragged me down the hall, into what looked like a bedroom, toward the closet. Inside, she ordered, pulling clothes aside to reveal a hidden door. A keypad glowed faintly in the dark. Her fingers flew across it. Nothing happened. No. She tried again. The code's not working. Sophia. Someone changed it. Someone on the inside changed the fucking code. Footsteps on the stairs. Heavy. Multiple people. We were trapped. Sophia pushed me behind her, pulled a gun from somewhere, trained it on the bedroom door. Stay behind me. When they come through, you run. Find a window, break it if you have to, just run. I'm not leaving you. Eva. The door burst open. 3 men, all armed. But it was the fourth figure that made my heart stop. Vincent. Luca's most trusted man. His driver, his security, his right hand. Standing with the men who just killed the guards and broken into the safe house. Miss Romano, he said calmly. Miss Brennan, please put down the gun. No one else needs to die tonight. Sophia's hand didn't waver. You traitorous bastard. It's not personal. It's business. He gestured to the men flanking him. The Castellanos made a very generous offer. More generous than your brother's loyalty is worth. Luca will kill you for this. Luca will try. Vincent's eyes shifted to me. Eva, the Castellanos just want to talk. Come quietly, and Miss Romano lives. Fight and we kill you both. Don't listen to him, Sophia said. The moment you go with them. She knows what happens, Vincent interrupted. She's a smart girl. She knows her brother Frederick made the same choice 3 years ago. Talked to the Castellanos, tried to make a deal. Tried to sell out his partners to save his own skin. The room spun. What? Oh, you didn't know. Vincent's smile was cruel. Frederick Brennan wasn't some innocent kid in over his head. He was a thief. Stole from the Castellanos, thought he could trade information for protection. When that fell through, he was going to run to the FBI. He took a step forward. The Castellanos didn't kill him for what he knew, Eva. They killed him for what he stole. $250,000 in cash and product. Money that's still missing. You're lying. Am I? Ask yourself why you're really still alive. If you were just a witness, they would have killed you in that warehouse. But you're not just a witness. You're leverage. They think you know where Frederick hid the money. I don't. I don't know anything about money. Well, you're about to have the chance to convince them of that. He raised his gun, pointed it at Sophia. Clock's ticking, Eva. What's it going to be? Sophia was shaking her head, mouthing don't, but I was already moving forward. Already making the choice. I'll go. Just don't hurt her. Eva, no. Vincent's men grabbed me, rough hands on my arms. One of them zip-tied my wrists while Vincent kept his gun trained on Sophia. Smart choice, he said. For what it's worth, I actually like you. Hope you survive the conversation. Luca will come for me, I said, hating how my voice shook. Luca doesn't know where you're going. By the time he figures it out. Vincent shrugged. Well, let's just say the Castellanos are very thorough. They dragged me toward the door. I looked back at Sophia, saw the fury and fear on her face, saw her fingers already moving to her phone the moment we cleared the doorway. I'm sorry, I whispered. Then I was moving down the stairs out the door, past the bodies of the guards who died trying to protect us, into a waiting van with blacked-out windows. The last thing I saw before they slammed the door was the safe house, lights still out, Sophia's silhouette in the upstairs window. Then darkness. Complete and absolute. And in that darkness, Vincent's words echoed. Frederick wasn't innocent. Frederick was a thief. Frederick had stolen from the people who killed him. Everything I'd believed about my brother's death. Was it all a lie? And if Vincent could betray Luca, who else in his organization couldn't be trusted? I'd thought I was finally safe. Thought I'd finally found someone who could protect me. But I was learning the hard way that safety was an illusion. And trust was just another word for vulnerability waiting to be exploited. #Act 5. The transformative crisis. The van stopped after what felt like hours but was probably 30 minutes. When they dragged me out, we were in an industrial area, the kind of place where screams wouldn't carry and nobody asked questions. Inside the building, fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. The smell of oil and rust and something darker I didn't want to identify. They pushed me into a chair, secured my zip-tied wrists to the armrests. Then they left me alone. The silence was worse than threats. Gave me too much time to think. To replay Vincent's words. To wonder if everything I'd believed about Frederick for 3 years had been a lie. My brother the thief. My brother, the criminal who'd gotten in over his head not because he was naive, but because he was greedy. Oh, I couldn't believe that. Wouldn't believe that. The door opened. A man entered, mid-50s, expensive suit, salt and pepper hair. He carried himself with the quiet authority of someone used to being obeyed. Behind him Vincent followed, closing the door. Eva Brennan, the man said. His voice smooth and cultured. I'm Anthony Castellano. I believe you've been expecting me. I said nothing. He pulled up a chair, sat across from me like we were having coffee instead of whatever this was. You look like your brother. Same eyes. Same stubborn set to your jaw. Frederick had that too. Right up until the end. You killed him. I did. No hesitation, no remorse. Just fact. He stole from me. $250,000 in cash and a shipment of product worth twice that. When I asked for it back, he threatened to go to the FBI. To testify against my entire organization. Castellano leaned forward. So yes, I killed him. And I'd do it again. The casual way he admitted to murdering my brother made my vision red. I don't have your money. I don't know where it is. I told your people that 3 years ago. I know you did. I also know you're lying. I'm not. Eva. He said my name like a teacher correcting a slow student. Frederick was shot at 9 p.m. on a Tuesday night. You were with him. He died in your arms at approximately 9:15. But here's what's interesting. That morning at 10 a.m., Frederick rented a storage unit. Paid for a full year in advance. Cash. My heart stuttered. I don't know anything about a storage unit. The rental agreement required 2 authorized signatures. Frederick's name is on the contract. Castellano pulled out a paper, unfolded it, showed me. And so is yours. I stared at the document. My signature clear as day next to Frederick's. Except I'd never signed it. Never even seen it. I didn't. Frederick must have forged it. I never went to any storage facility. Perhaps. Or perhaps he told you where it was, and you've been sitting on my money for 3 years, waiting for the heat to die down. Castellano's expression hardened. Either way, we're going to find out tonight. Vincent stepped forward, placed something on the table between us. Syringe. Truth serum is such a crude term, Castellano said conversationally. But effective. You'll tell me everything you know. Where the storage unit is, what Frederick told you, every secret you've been keeping. And if it turns out you really don't know anything. He shrugged. Well, at least I'll have closure before I kill you. Luca will come for me. Luca Romano is currently tearing his organization apart, trying to find the traitor who sold you out. By the time he figures out where you are, this will all be over. Castellano stood, nodded to Vincent. Make her comfortable. I'll be back in 10 minutes to ask my questions. They left. The door locked. And I was alone with my racing thoughts and the syringe on the table. Frederick had rented a storage unit the day he died. Put my name on the contract without telling me. Which meant either he'd planned to tell me and never got the chance or he'd set me up. Used my name to hide his stolen money, knowing the Castellanos would come after me if they couldn't find him. My brother, who I'd mourned for 3 years. Who I'd run from city to city to honor his memory. Who I'd believed was innocent. Had he sacrificed me to save himself? The thought was so painful I couldn't breathe. The door burst open 20 minutes later, but it wasn't Castellano. It was Luca, gun drawn, face absolutely murderous. Behind him, 3 of his men swept the room, securing it. Eva! He crossed to me in 3 strides, holstered his gun, pulled out a knife and cut through the zip ties. Are you hurt? Did they touch you? How did you find me? Sophia. She tracked Vincent's phone before he ditched it. Let us hear. He cupped my face, searched my eyes. Are you okay? Luca, Vincent said. Castellano said. The words tangled. My brother. Frederick. He stole from them. He wasn't innocent. I know. His voice was gentle. Sophia told me everything Vincent said. We can deal with that later. Right now we need to move. Gunfire erupted somewhere in the building. Blows. Getting closer. They know we're here, one of Luca's men said. We need to go. Now. Luca pulled me to my feet, kept one hand on my arm, moving me toward the door. Into a hallway. More gunfire. His men returned fire, the sound deafening in the enclosed space. We made it to a stairwell. Started down. Luca in front of me, one of his men behind, 2 more providing cover. That's when I saw him. Vincent 1 floor down, gun raised. Aimed directly at Luca's chest. Luca! I screamed. Everything slowed down. Luca turned. Vincent fired. And I moved without thinking, threw myself forward, knocked Luca sideways. The bullet meant for him hit me instead. The impact was like being kicked by a horse. I went down hard, my head cracking against the concrete stairs. Pain exploded through my chest, white hot and all-consuming. Eva! Luca's voice, raw and anguished. More gunfire. Someone screaming. Maybe me. Hands on me, lifting me. Luca's face above mine, pale and terrified. Stay with me. Eva, stay with me. Don't you dare leave me. I tried to speak, but blood filled my mouth. Tried to breathe, but my chest wouldn't expand properly. Get her to the car. Luca was shouting. Move. Now. The world tilted. Chairs. Hallway. Doors. Night air. Then the soft leather of a car seat and Luca's hands pressing against my chest, trying to stop the bleeding. "You're going to be fine," he said, and I'd never heard him sound so scared. "You're going to be fine. Just hold on. Please, Eva. Please hold on." I wanted to. God, I wanted to. But the darkness was closing in, warm and soft and so much easier than fighting. "I'm sorry," I whispered. "No. No apologies. You stay with me. You promised you'd stay." "Frederick. The storage unit." He put my name. "Shoo, don't talk. Save your strength." But I needed him to know. Needed him to understand. My whole life, I've been running. From pain. From loss. From anyone who might. Blood choked off my words. "Eva. Let me finish." I grabbed his hand with what little strength I had left. "I spent 3 years running. But these last 2 days. With you. Finally stopped. Finally felt alive. And if this is the price." Cough, tasted copper. "Worth it. Don't talk like that. You're not dying. I won't let you die. Not your choice." I smiled or tried to. "But Luca, thank you. For seeing me. For making me feel." The darkness surged, pulled me under. The last thing I heard was Luca screaming my name. I woke to beeping. Antiseptic smell. Fluorescent lights that hurt my eyes. Hospital. I was alive. The thought took a moment to process. I'd been shot. I'd felt myself dying. But I was alive. "She's awake." Sophia's voice, thick with emotion. "Luca, she's awake." Then he was there, leaning over me, and he looked like hell. Unshaven, exhausted, wearing the same blood-stained shirt from. "How long ago?" "Hey," he said softly, his hand finding mine. "Welcome back." "How long?" 3 days. "You've been in and out, but this is the first time you've been lucid." His thumb traced circles on my palm. "You scared the hell out of me." "Vincent. Dead. I killed him myself." No remorse in his voice. Just fact. "The Castellanos are handled. Permanently. Anthony Castellano is dead. His second in command is dead. Their entire operation in this city is finished. You went to war. Because of me. I went to war because they took what's mine." His grip tightened. "Because they shot you. Because they needed to learn that touching you means death." I should have been disturbed by the violence in his voice. Instead, I just felt grateful. And so tired. "The storage unit," I said. "Frederick put my name on the rental agreement. I didn't know. I swear I didn't know." "I believe you." Luca sat on the edge of the bed, careful not to jostle me. "We found it. The unit was exactly where the contract said it would be. And you're not going to believe what was inside. The money. No money. No drugs." He paused. "Files. Records. Evidence of every crime the Castellano family committed for 15 years. Names, dates, photographs, financial records. Everything." I stared at him. Frederick was building a case. He was building insurance. Something to keep him alive if they turned on him. Luca's expression was complicated. "Your brother wasn't just a thief, Eva. He was FBI. Deep cover. Had been for 2 years." The world tilted again, but this time I was already lying down. "What?" "The money he supposedly stole. The drugs. They were already FBI property. Evidence from other cases. Frederick was supposed to use them to gain the Castellanos' trust, work his way up the organization. But something went wrong. They found out or suspected and he didn't finish. Didn't need to. He was trying to protect me." The realization hit like a second bullet. That's why he put my name on the storage unit. If anything happened to him, I could find the evidence. Could finish what he started. Probably. Luca's hand moved to my face, gentle. "But none of that matters now. The evidence is in FBI hands. The Castellanos are finished. You're safe." After 3 years of running, I was finally safe. So why did I feel so hollow? I spent 3 years, I whispered, believing my brother was innocent, that he was just a kid who got in over his head. And I was wrong. But I was also wrong about him being a thief. Wrong about everything. Tears burned hot. I didn't know him at all. Eva. He died protecting me, keeping secrets to keep me safe. And I've been running from his sacrifice instead of honoring it. The tears spilled over. All this time I thought I was running from his killers. But I was really just running from the pain. From having to face what happened. From having to live without him. Luca wiped my tears with his thumb. You survived. That's all Frederick would have wanted. But I didn't just survive. I stopped living. I stopped trusting people, stopped making connections, stopped letting anyone matter. I looked up at him. Until you made me stop running. Made me face everything I'd been avoiding. And I almost died for it. But you didn't die. His voice was fierce. You lived. You threw yourself in front of a bullet for me and you lived. Do you understand how rare that is? How incredible. I'm not incredible. I'm just tired. The exhaustion was overwhelming. Tired of running. Tired of being afraid. Tired of letting Frederick's death define every choice I make. Then stop. He leaned closer. Stop running. Stop being afraid. Stop letting the past control you. Stay here. With me. Build something new. What if I don't know how? Then we'll figure it out together. He kissed my forehead. You saved my life, Eva. Took a bullet meant for me. You think I'm just going to let you walk away after that? Pretty sure I'm not walking anywhere for a while. He smiled, but it was watery. When you're healed. When you can actually leave this hospital bed. I'm not asking you to decide now. I'm just asking you to think about it. About staying. About us. The word was terrifying and beautiful at the same time. Luca, your life. It's dangerous. People trying to kill you. Betrayals. Violence. Yes. I'm not sure I'm strong enough for that. You threw yourself in front of a bullet. You faced down the family that killed your brother. You told a mafia boss to sit down in a room full of his enemies. He traced my cheekbone. Eva, you're the strongest person I know. You just don't see it yet. Maybe he was right. Maybe I'd been so focused on running, on surviving, that I'd forgotten what it meant to actually live. Frederick had died protecting me. Had spent 2 years undercover, risking his life, all to make sure I stayed safe. And I'd spent 3 years hiding. Wasting the life he'd given everything to preserve. No more. Okay, I said. Okay. When I'm healed. When I can walk out of this hospital. I'll stay. I squeezed his hand. I'll stay, and I'll build something new. And I'll stop letting fear make my decisions. I'll stay for Frederick. And for me. And I met his eyes. For you. The smile that broke across his face was pure sunlight. Yeah. I pulled him down, kissed him softly. But fair warning. I'm going to be terrible at this. Trusting people. At being vulnerable. At all of it. Good thing I'm patient. You literally went to war 3 days ago. For you. For you I'm patient. He settled carefully beside me on the bed, mindful of my injuries. We'll take it slow. One day at a time. No pressure. No expectations. Figuring it out. I rested my head against his shoulder. Felt his arm come around me, solid and warm and real. For 3 years, I'd been running from my brother's death. Running from pain and loss and the terror of caring about someone again. But Frederick hadn't died so I could spend my life afraid. He died so I could live. And maybe living meant taking risks. Meant trusting people even when it was terrifying. Meant opening your heart even when you knew it could break. Maybe living meant being brave enough to stay instead of running. Outside the hospital window, the city stretched into the distance. The same city I'd been planning to flee a week ago. The same city that now held something worth staying for. Someone worth staying for. I closed my eyes, let myself relax into Luca's embrace. And for the first time in 3 years, I felt something that wasn't fear. Oh, fragile and terrifying and absolutely real. And maybe, just maybe, that was enough. You're absolutely right. I got carried away with the story. We're well over the 3,500 5,000 word target. My apologies. Let me give you a more concise but powerful Act 6 to wrap everything up properly. Hashtag Act 6. Climax and resolution. 6 weeks later, I stood in front of the storage unit Frederick had rented 3 years ago. Unit 247. The one with my forged signature on the contract. Luca stood beside me, silent support as I turned the key the FBI had finally released. The door rolled up. Now. The files long gone, turned over to federal prosecutors who were still building cases against what remained of the Castellano network. But I hadn't come for the files. I stepped inside, ran my hand along the metal wall, and there it was. Hidden behind a loose panel, exactly where the FBI had missed it because they didn't know Frederick like I did. Our childhood hiding spot. Behind the loose board in our shared bedroom, we'd kept secrets, treasures, notes to each other. Behind this panel was an envelope. My name in Frederick's handwriting. My hand shook as I opened it. Eva, if you're reading this, I'm probably dead. Sorry. I'm so damn sorry. I knew the risks when I went undercover. Knew what could happen. But I also knew that the Castellanos destroyed families like ours every day. Killed kids like I used to be. And someone had to stop them. I put your name on this storage unit because you're the only person I trust completely. If something happens to me, the evidence inside will finish what I started. Give it to Agent Sarah Reeves, FBI. She'll know what to do. But more importantly, I need you to know something. You spent our whole childhood protecting me. Taking care of me when Mom couldn't. Making sure I stayed out of trouble. You sacrificed so much for me. Now it's my turn to protect you. Don't spend your life running, Eva. Don't let my death make you afraid to live. Find someone who sees how incredible you are. Build something beautiful. Be happy. That's all I ever wanted for you. Happiness. Love you. Always. Frederick. The tears came hard and fast. 3 years of grief finally breaking through the wall I'd built around it. Luca's arms came around me, held me while I sobbed into his chest. He wanted me to be happy, I choked out. All along, he just wanted me to be happy. Then let's honor that, Luca said quietly. Let's make sure his sacrifice wasn't for nothing. I nodded against his chest, clutching Frederick's letter like a lifeline. My brother had died protecting me. But he hadn't died so I could spend my life afraid. He died so I could live. 3 months later, I stood in Rosie's diner. But this time not as a waitress. Luca had bought the place. Convinced Harold to stay on as manager. Offered Jamie a full scholarship to finish college. And offered me a choice. It's yours if you want it, he said, gesturing around the empty diner. Your own business. Your own place. No pressure, no strings. Just a fresh start. I looked around the place where everything had changed. Where I'd told a Mafia boss to sit down. Where I'd stopped running and started living. I want it, I said. But not alone. Partner with me. Equal ownership. His eyebrows rose. You sure? I'm sure. I crossed to him, wrapped my arms around his neck. You said we'd figure this out together. So let's actually do that. Build something together. A diner. A life. I kissed him softly. One day at a time. No running. No hiding. Just us, building something real. I like the sound of that. His hands settled at my waist, familiar and right. Fair warning though. Dating me comes with complications. I threw myself in front of a bullet for you. I think I can handle complicated. He laughed, the sound warm and genuine. Yeah, you can. 6 months after that, Sophia and I sat in the newly renovated diner, going over the books. She'd insisted on helping with the business side, claimed she was bored with just being Luca's sister. Really, I think she just liked having a friend. You're happy, she observed, watching me smile at something on my phone. Luca, sending me a picture of a stray cat he'd found outside one of his legitimate businesses. He'd gone soft, started collecting strays. Me included. I admitted. Good. You deserve it. She closed the ledger. Can I tell you something? Always. When Isabella died, I thought Luca died with her. I thought I'd never see my real brother again. Just the cold, controlled version he became. She met my eyes. But you brought him back. The man who sends you cat pictures and buys diners and actually smiles. That's the real Luca. And I have you to thank for that. He brought me back too, I said quietly. From 3 years of just existing. He made me remember what living feels like. Then I guess you saved each other. She raised her coffee cup. To second chances. To second chances, I echoed. 1 year after I'd told Luca Romano to sit down. He took me back to that same table in the diner. Late night after closing. Just us. I've been thinking, he said. Dangerous habit. He smiled. A year ago, you were the bravest, most reckless, most infuriating woman I'd ever met. You stood up to me when no one else would. You saw past the reputation, the fear, the violence, and you saw me. Luca. I'm not finished. He reached across the table, took my hand. This year you've been my partner. In business, in life, in everything. You've made me laugh, made me crazy, made me remember what it feels like to actually want tomorrow to come. He slid something across the table. Small velvet box. My heart stopped. I'm not asking you to marry into the family business. I'm not asking you to become someone you're not. I'm just asking. He opened the box, revealing a simple, beautiful ring. Will you keep building this life with me? Make it official. Be my partner in everything. I stared at the ring, at his face, at the hope and vulnerability in his eyes. A year ago I'd been running, hiding, convinced I'd spend my life alone because caring about people only led to pain. But I'd learned something in the past year. Yes, caring about people could lead to pain. But it could also lead to joy, purpose, to mornings waking up next to someone who saw you, really saw you and loved what they found. To late nights in a diner, making plans and dreams and something beautiful from the wreckage of the past. Yes, I said, and watched his face transform with pure joy. Yes, I'll marry you. I'll build this life with you. He was already around the table, pulling me into his arms, kissing me like I was oxygen and he'd been drowning. When we broke apart, he slid the ring onto my finger. Perfect fit. Like everything else with us, it just worked. I love you, he said. I know I don't say it enough, but Eva, I love you so damn much. I love you too. The words came easy now, natural. You saved me, Luca. From running. From fear. From a half-life that wasn't really living. You saved me first. His forehead touched mine. From being dead inside. From going through the motions. From forgetting what it felt like to actually care about something beyond duty and obligation. We stood there in the empty diner, wrapped in each other, and I thought about the journey that had brought us here. Frederick's sacrifice. Castellanos. Vincent's betrayal. The bullet that should have killed me but didn't. All of it had led to this moment. This man. This life. Hey, Luca said softly. Where'd you go? Just thinking. About Frederick. About how he told me to find happiness. I looked up at him. I think he'd like you. Yeah. He'd probably threaten to kill you if you hurt me, but he'd like you. Luca laughed. I'd expect nothing less. Outside the diner windows, the city moved on. People living their lives, chasing their dreams, running from their fears or toward their futures. And inside, two people who'd found each other in the chaos stood together, building something neither had expected but both desperately needed. Home. Partnership. Future. I'd spent 3 years running from my past. But I was done running. I was finally beautifully, completely home. 2 years later, I stood at Frederick's grave for the first time since his funeral. The headstone was simple. Frederick Brennan. Beloved brother. Gone too soon. Luca stood beside me, his hand in mine, as I placed flowers on the ground. I brought someone to meet you, I told the stone. His name's Luca. He's stubborn and overprotective and has a terrible habit of getting shot at. But he loves me and I love him and I think you'd approve. The wind rustled through the trees, and I chose to believe it was Frederick's way of saying hello. I'm happy, I continued. Really happy. We got married last spring. Sophia was my maid of honor. We're talking about expanding the diner, maybe opening a second location. And I'm not running anymore. I'm not afraid anymore. I touched the cold stone, felt tears prick my eyes but didn't fight them. Thank you, I whispered. For protecting me. For loving me. For making sure I had a chance at this life. I promise I'm not wasting it. I promise I'm living enough for both of us. Luca squeezed my hand gently. Support without words. I miss you, I said. Every day. But I'm okay now. Finally actually okay. We stood there a while longer, saying goodbye and thank you and I love you to a brother who'd given everything to make sure I could have this moment. Then we walked back to the car, hand in hand, and drove toward the life we were building together. The past would always be part of me. Frederick's death, the running, the fear. But it didn't define me anymore. What defined me now was the choice to stay. To love. To build. To live. And as Luca drove us home, our hands linked between the seats, I smiled. Because once upon a time, a waitress had told a Mafia boss to sit down. And somehow, impossibly, that moment had saved them both. Thank you for staying with Eva and Luca's journey. Sometimes the bravest thing we can do is stop running and let ourselves be found. Drop a comment and let me know what you thought of this story. Where are you watching from? And what moment hit you the hardest? I love hearing from you, my wonderful friends. Until next time. Stay brave, stay open, and remember that sometimes the most dangerous thing we can do is also the thing that saves us. Sending love to you all.